it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Today is Sunday, March the 9th already, 2022. And we're about to read in our book, City Bears Adventures. It's the D.J. Dillon's Adventure Series by Lee Roddy. So today we are on chapter 9. Let's see what's going to happen. The cub disappears. That night, DJ got off the school bus and removed his shoes to wade in through the creek. He was surprised that Grandpa wasn't sitting on the porch. Then DJ remembered that his grandfather hadn't been feeling well. The boy ran up the hill, a tightness settling upon his chest. Hero dashed out from under the porch and barked sharply. He stood on his hind legs and pawed in the air, whining to reach the boy. DJ reached down and patted the little hair puller. "Hello, Hero. How's the dog, huh? That's good. You been taking good care of the cub? Okay, now that's enough petting for a while. I've got to go see Coco now." The boy went on past the porch towards the doghouse where Coco had slept with the pups last summer. DJ called, "Hey, Coco, I'm home." There was no answer. No answering rattle of the chain from the bear. Suddenly, DJ stopped dead still. The afternoon sun glittered on the cub's chain. It lay like a silver necklace in the dust outside the doghouse, but the bear was nowhere in sight. "Oh no!" DJ moaned. "Not again!" Quickly, the boy bent and looked inside the doghouse. It was empty. DJ ran around the house calling, "Coco! Here, Coco! Coco!" In the same manner he'd called the dog. He heard the pigs grunting and crashing through their feeding troughs. A hummingbird hovered over one of Grandpa's roses, blooming behind a single strand of electric wire. A light breeze, hinting of coming autumn, whispered among the tops of the evergreen trees. A red-headed woodpecker drummed on the ghostly gray dead tree trunk, because they're pecking in there to see if they could find any bugs they can eat. But there was no sound from the bear cub. DJ dashed inside the house and into Grandpa's bedroom. He slept in the front near one of the nearest the porch and off the dining room. The old man was sitting up in bed reading the Bible that had belonged to DJ's mother. "Grandpa, where's Coco?" The old man lowered his Bible and looked over the top of his wire-rimmed bifocals. "Isn't he chained up where he's supposed to be?" "No, the chain's there, but he's gone. Must have broken the chain at his collar. I'd better go look for him. I'll take Hero along, okay?" Grandpa hesitated a moment, then managed a weak smile. "You run along, DJ, and don't worry. You'll find him before supper." But DJ did not find the cub. He found the bear's tracks leading away from the house. In the thick dust, the front paw print was clear. It was small and almost round. The hind paw was much longer, shaped more like a man's foot or hand, except there was no raised part where the human arch would be. Bears walk flat-footed. So if you look on your foot, you will have, put this down. You will have a little part that naturally goes up a little bit. Okay? Just up a little. And that's called your arch. You can feel it on your foot where it goes up. But bears, they don't have that. They just are flat-footed, flat flat, flat. Let's see. DJ knew that they were flat-footed. The whole foot showed, from the wide front claws to the narrow rounded heel. But instead of having a big toe on the inside as a human does, the bear's two middle toes were almost even in length. I didn't know that. They stuck well out in front of the longest toes, so the longest toes showed in the middle. "Here, Hero," DJ called to the little mixed breed mutt. "Stick your nose down here and get Coco's scent. Then follow him. Go on, find Coco." DJ gently pushed the little hair puller's black nose into the bear tracks. When the dog sniffed and noisily blew dust out of his nostrils with lots of sneezes, the boy waved his arm in the direction the paw marks led. "Go find Coco! Go on!" Hero barked sharply, hurting the boy's ears. The little dog dashed off, eager to please. However, the little mutt didn't really understand what was expected. He thought DJ wanted to play, as they often did. The hair puller ran in a wide circle, scaring up some mountain quail. Those are little birds. They exploded like shotgun shells and whirled off like winged bullets, scattering in all directions. The dog barked happily at them and then circled back to DJ, trailing sharp, loud barks with every step. The mutt ran with his stub tail tucked tightly underneath his body. His hindquarters were drawn up so far under him that Hero seemed to almost be sitting down while dashing around like a dust devil, going around and around. The boy laughed in spite of himself. "Oh, Hero, you're such a sight. But you're as useless as a notching stick." "Well, when we find Coco, I'm going to take Alfred's suggestion and teach you to trail and find that cub. Now, let's see if we can find him before dark." Dusk, that's when the sun goes down, settled so fast over the hills it was like a blanket dropped over a giant's hands. The boy and dog returned to the house. As DJ entered the screen kitchen door after chaining Hero outside, Dad looked up from where he was making dinner. "The chores aren't done," he roared, his face starting to turn dark with anger. "I know," DJ said lamely. "Coco's gone. I've been looking for him. Your grandfather told me. He's feeling kind of puny, and you should have been here with him. Instead, you're out looking for that fool bear. Now, go get those chores done, and we'll have a little set-to, young man." I wonder what a set-to is. Let's look it up and see. Another way of referring to a strong, private conversation. So DJ's dad is going to have a strong talk with him. Oh dear. That's what a set-to is. The boy was too concerned about Coco to worry about what his father might say or do. DJ fed the hogs without even thinking about what he was doing. Hogs is another name for pigs. He split live oak and madrone by the light of the back porch's 100-watt light bulb. He carried armloads of dry firewood into the kitchen for the wood-burning stove. Dad was making pancakes for supper. They smelled so good, DJ's tongue flickered over his lips in anticipation of tasting them. But he knew better than to stop just yet. He carried the trash out and dumped it in a far corner where eventually it would be trucked away to the county dump. DJ fed Hero, patted him, then he walked inside to wash his hands in the kitchen sink. Grandpa's not getting up for supper? The boy asked, drying his hands on the old flour sack that hung by the sink. I told you he's feeling under the weather. Dad's voice was sharp. He finished pouring homemade apple butter over the last pancake and ate it. You'd think you'd be more interested in your own flesh and blood than a bear. By flesh and blood, he meant by your own family, like Grandpa's his family. DJ walked across the kitchen linoleum and crossed the second faded print linoleum in the combination dining and living room and into Grandpa's bedroom. The old man was dozing, his bifocals way down on his nose. The open Bible laying across his knees, the Irish shillelagh Grandpa used as a cane lay beside his thin, brown-blotched right hand. For a moment the boy hesitated. He was suddenly aware of how weak and frail Grandpa looked. The old man's pale blue eyes blinked open and smiled weakly. That you, DJ? Yes, Grandpa. Can't you see me? Guess my eyes are getting worse. Dag nabbit, glasses aren't worth the powder to blow 'em up. Still, it beats being blind, I guess. Did you find the bear? Not yet. Grandpa patted the bed beside him. He just patted it with his left hand. Sit down here a minute. I want to talk to you. The boy sat, noticing up close how Grandpa's jaw was sinking in deeply. DJ thought Grandpa had forgotten to put in his false teeth. But a glance at the water glass on the old pine nightstand showed that the dentures were not in there. He was wearing them, but his cheeks were very sunken, like he's been losing weight. DJ, did I hear you told your father about your commitment to the Lord? Yes, I did. How'd he take it? Fine. Surprised me. I'm glad. Boy or man shouldn't have to feel ashamed of saying what he believes, even if it does mean somebody's not going to like it. I'm not ashamed, Grandpa. I just couldn't say it right off. Well, no matter. Guess that's the kind of like spiritual growth I hear tell about. Kind of like that there bear cub of yours. Lots of growth day by day. Sometimes so little you don't notice it. But suddenly one day you look up and say, my, that cub's grown considerable. Same with spiritual things, I guess. I've been trying to grow too. The boy didn't know what to say. He waited, feeling Grandpa was about to mention something important. The old man took DJ's hand in both of his. DJ, you know why I went forward in church some time back and gave my heart to the Lord after all these years of living my own way? Because you wanted to? The old man chuckled and went into a coughing spell. That's what he did. His face turned red and DJ jumped up in alarm. He didn't know what to do, and so he just waited until the coughing passed. Grandpa sighed and rubbed his teary eyes with the back of his thin hand. Guess time is slipping by faster than I dreamt, DJ. Phew. Each time it gets worse, it seems. The boy frowned. He hadn't thought about hearing Grandpa's cough, but he'd been doing it a lot lately. DJ realized, "You'll be okay," he said, taking the old man's left hand in his. "Getting close to checkout time in this old hotel," Grandpa said, tapping his bony chest with his free right hand. DJ exclaimed, Don't talk like that. It's going to happen sooner or later." Well, I'll tell you what that means. Getting close to checkout time means that Grandpa feels like it won't be too long before he passes away or he dies out of this hotel, out of this body. And then he knows that when Christ comes back, he'll get a new body and he'll be raised alive again, just like all believers will be. But DJ doesn't want to hear that. He doesn't want his grandpa to die. He loves him. Going to happen sooner or later. Well, as I was saying, I went forward and recommitted my life to the Lord because I really wanted to. Of course, there's some in this town that says I was just getting fire insurance, but that's not true. I don't mind keeping away from down below, you understand. But when I sleep on the hill near your mother, I don't want you to think, Grandpa! DJ jumped up and dropped the old hand. I don't want you to talk like that. You're going to get well. The old man smiled, and DJ thought he saw the watery blue eyes glisten with a tear, with more than one tear. Tell you what, DJ, I'd like to stick around and see you graduate from the 8th grade. The boy slowly let out a breath of air he hadn't even realized he was holding in. Good. Then you can see my bear in the movies. A whole bunch of movies and a series I want. If I want. Nothing would please me more, but there's something else you should know No, you can't hold me to anything if I don't stick around till spring. A cold wind seemed to whip up around DJ's heart. He swallowed hard and asked quietly, What's that, Grandpa? There comes a time when you've got to gather your memories. That way nothing's ever really lost, and then you go on. That's the way things are. You gather for a while, then you finally have to let go and move on, taking only the memories. DJ frowned and started to say he didn't understand, but Dad's roar interrupted. The boy jumped and raced into the kitchen. Dad had been in where the bathtub was. On returning to the kitchen, Dad had stopped, shock still. He was looking at the back screen door. It had been pushed aside at the bottom. Dad yelled, "That bear must have done that. But where is he?" DJ's heart sailed up like a buck springing happily across the meadow. The boy ran to the cupboard under the sink. The door stood open. DJ bent over and looked. "Coco, where have you been? And what are you doing under there? You come out right now." He grabbed the cub's collar and pulled him back towards the light. The bear's muzzle was covered in apple butter. Dad exploded into a long string of cuss words. Then, suddenly, he began to laugh. "Well, guess it's a cheap enough price to pay for not having to see you mope around all night, wondering where your cub was. But don't let it happen again, DJ. I'll get a heavier chain, Dad. You'd better. And while I think about it, Boot Malone came by the mill this morning when I was picking up my check. Raise the price on that cub if you want to sell him. I won't sell him, Dad. That's what I told Boot, but he sure does want that cub for some reason. If I was you, I'd keep a powerful eye out on him. For the second time that day, DJ's fears gripped him in cold, icy fingers. You don't think Boot would steal Coco? No, he wouldn't. But whoever wants that bear is making it worthwhile for Boot to offer a mighty fancy figure for him. That means a lot of money. You better be careful, or you won't have a cub one of these mornings. I'll be real careful. Oh, that reminds me, Dad. The movie man came to school today with Paul Stagg and offered to buy Coco. He did? Yes, DJ answered. I told him about the conversation. When he had finished, DJ had cleaned up the apple butter and wiped off the cub's nose. Dad rubbed a strong right hand across the stubble of fierce black whiskers. So on the side he would have some kind of whiskers, the bear would. Something mighty peculiar going on, DJ. You be careful. I will. Now, I'd better see about fixing up a better chain for Coco. I'll whip up some fresh pancake batter for your supper when you're finished. The boy looked at his father a long time, surprised to see the gentler side to him. That was twice, 2 times. DJ had been surprised, counting the time when Dad had hugged him at the Labor Day picnic. Maybe Mom had been right. DJ got the heaviest chain he could find and worked until well after 10 o'clock, making the cub's collar stronger. There, the boy said at last, leaning back and looking at the chain and collar. That ought to hold you. He let the cubs sleep on the foot of the bed as usual. DJ slid under the dusty smelling covers and looked up at the ceiling. He said his prayers, wondering if he should get down on his knees to pray. But the boy was afraid Dad would laugh at him or maybe even cuss him out. Dad was unpredictable that way. When DJ had finished praying for Grandpa's health, Coco's safety, and a good school year, the boy lay awake a while in the darkened house. He listened to the coyotes and foxes yipping in the distance. Once he thought he heard a mountain lion scream away off towards the Mad River. Slowly the boy's eyes closed and he began to drift off. From a long way off, it seemed, he was hearing Grandpa's terrible coughing. It was getting worse. Dad had changed his mind about DJ having to make Coco sleep outside. As long as DJ kept Coco out of trouble, the cub could sleep with DJ. Coco made little sounds in his sleep, and the boy wondered if Coco was really in danger. The answer made the boy suddenly sit upright in his rollaway bed. He reached down and touched the growing cub to be sure he was there. There's no doubt about it, DJ thought as he lay back down. Somebody's out to get my cub. But who and why? No answer came, and DJ finally slept. But it was with an uneasy awareness that something strange was going on. And that's the end of chapter 9. That was a good one. I'm sure glad that Coco came back home. even though he got into the cabinet and ate the apple butter. Tomorrow we'll be reading Chapter 10, A Movie Contract and a New Problem. Oh, poor DJ, he has so many problems. Well, that's where we're going to end for tonight. I hope you enjoy watching this today or tonight, whatever time you're watching this. And I want to say I love you, but more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. All right, good night, and God bless you.